So let me continue from that point. Labor differs in efficiency. Labor is more perishable than any other commodity. Laborers do not have the same bargaining capacity as the employers. Okay. So that was the last point I had mentioned. Today, I'll continue from there. So the 7 characteristic of labor is a laborer is a man, not a machine. Okay. Why do we say so? Because since labor has feelings and likings, you cannot treat a laborer as a machine. He has his own feelings and he has his own likings and dislikings. He needs rest. A laborer needs recreation, refreshments, healthy surroundings, and peace of mind. A laborer, if he's given a fair treatment by the employer, it increases his efficiency. So if you talk to the workers in an appropriate manner, nicely, and you respond to their difficulties, definitely they will like you, they will love the work, and you get better work turnout. Okay, so the laborer's efficiency will increase if you treat the employees, the laborers, in a decent manner. The 8th one is please keep your microphones in muted condition. Okay. Supply of labor is independent of its demand. That means if the demand increases immediately, you cannot increase the supply of labor. It needs 15 to 20 years, right? So you cannot just increase the supply of labor whenever demand increases. So supply of labor cannot be increased or decreased quickly as the demand for it changes. And the 9th characteristic of labor is difficulty of calculating the cost of production. Suppose it is a tractor. You can easily calculate the cost of production of tractor. If it is fertilizer, you can easily calculate the cost of production of fertilizer. Similarly, seeds. But if it is laborer, can you calculate the cost of production easily? Like what is the cost of raising your children? No, it is very difficult. Okay, how can the cost of bringing up children can be calculated? Then efficiency of labor. Efficiency is the productivity or the output per unit of labor used. Suppose you produce 10 quintals of a commodity and you employ 5 laborers to produce 10 quintals, then the productivity of labor is 10 quintals divided by 5 number of workers. That works out to 2 quintals per acre. So productivity will be 2 quintals per acre. Output per unit of labor used indicates efficiency of labor. 10 quintals with 50% days of labor, 1 person day is 8 hours of work. Okay. If it is men, we use the unit man days. Okay, man days. 1 man day means 1 male laborer working for 8 hours. 1 woman day means 1 female worker working for 8 hours in a day. So this is neutral. So instead of saying man days or woman days, we just say person days. So it may be either men or women. So 10 quintals with 50% days of labor, then the productivity would be 1000 kgs. 10 quintals is 1000 kgs divided by 50, it is equal to 20 kgs. And if when 10 quintals of the commodity can be produced with only 40% days of labor, then the productivity would be 1000 divided by 40, 25 kgs. So higher the productivity, higher would be the efficiency. And what are the factors affecting efficiency? There are two sets of factors which affect efficiency of labor. One is the factors affecting his power to work and the factors affecting his will to work. There are different factors which affect the power to work, and similarly, there are different factors affecting the will to work. So first we'll take up laborers' capacity or power to work. What are the factors that affect the power or the capacity? One is the racial stock to which human race he belongs to. Okay. Now, these are the racial stock or the inherent qualities of the people. The example, which you're all familiar with, the Americans of African origin, they are very good in athletics. So it is a racial stock. Okay, it is the inherent quality of the people. The second factor which affects the power to work is the climate. Inhabitants of temperate and cold regions, say for example European countries, okay, are more efficient than those of tropics and subtropics because the heat reduces the efficiency. Hot climate has a weakening influence and makes sustained work difficult. And the third factor which affects power to work is acquired qualities. Acquired qualities is the qualities which are received, acquired, got by the laborers, that is education and training. So education and training, they enhance the capacity of the workers or the laborers. Now, laborers' capacity or power to work also depend on the fourth factor, earnings, the income they receive. Good income improves health, improves strength. Fair and prompt payment, if the employers, they make the payment in a reasonably fair manner, okay, and they make the payment immediately after the work. Prompt payment is a great incentive to better work. So if you treat them well, they will have more interest to work. They will have greater incentive to work. Then fifth one is work environment and the equipment. The environment means the human relationships in the, say, farm or the industry, wherever they work, in a factory and so on. So good human relationship among the workers, relationship between the employer and the employees. It should be good. Then the quality of equipments that the workers use should also be good. In that case, the efficiency will be more, or the workers will have more power to work or capacity to work. Then the sixth factor is hours of work. How many hours the laborer will work in a day? Longer hours, the efficiency will come down. So long hours means low efficiency. If a person can work for 6 to 8 hours and you ask him to work for 12 hours, after 8 hours or so, his efficiency gradually decreases. Then the seventh factor that affects power to work is the labor organization. If all the workers, they join together, they have their own union, then they will have better comradeship and the efficiency will be more. it improves labor efficiency because each laborer gets support from others. So there is feeling of togetherness. There is feeling of oneness. Naturally, the power to work will improve, and thereby it increases the labor efficiency. Then the worker's will to work, his ambition to rise. If a worker, a laborer is driven by ambition, naturally his efficiency will increase. Then the second factor is his desire to make the best use of the opportunity. Biಡಿ sir, ಏನ್ ಮಾಡೋದು? If that is the attitude, then the laborer or the worker will never come up in his life. He should make the best opportunity, whatever may be the opportunity. And even if it is sweeping the floor, cleaning the floor, after you clean, when somebody enters, you should ask, you should wonder, who did the cleaning job? It is perfect. Okay. Then it means your efficiency is at a higher level. Then the third factor is profit sharing schemes. Sometime back, the Infosys company, it had this. Whenever Infosys earned profit, huge profit, okay? So the profit was distributed among the workers in the form of shares of the Infosys company. And the workers were very happy because if they get the shares, so throughout their life, they will get the dividend, a share in the profit. So as they get more and more shares, they become owners of the company to a greater extent, and they will get a better share in the profit earned by the company. So profit sharing will also improve a worker's will to work. And the recognition. The workers need recognition. If the employer, the owner of the company, or the farmer, the owner of the farm, he appreciates, he recognizes the good work done by the laborer and he appreciates it, definitely his will to work will improve. Even at home, you might have observed, if you have younger brothers or sisters, whenever your friends come home, ನಿಮ್ಮ ಸ್ನೇಹಿತರು ಮನೆಗೆ ಬಂದಾಗ, if you praise your younger brother, ನಿಮ್ಮ ತಮ್ಮನೋ ತಂಗಿನೋ ನೀವು ಹೊಗಳಿದ್ರೆ, they will be very happy. Anna, what work I should do? Tell me, I'll do it. ನೀವೇನು ಹೇಳ್ತೀರೋ ಅದನ್ನ ಮಾಡ್ತೀನಿ. So he'll be having more will to work. Then the types of labor. One classification is physical labor and mental labor. So work done by a farm laborer or a coolie in the bus stand is physical labor, and the work rendered by a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer is the mental labor. Second classification of labor is skilled labor and unskilled labor. Work done by a carpenter, a tractor driver, an electrician, or a blacksmith, a goldsmith, they're all skilled labor, and the work turned out by a farm laborer is unskilled labor. So skilled labor, if a person, he goes on doing the same work throughout, it becomes specialization. Okay, the same work is turned out by a person, the same work is done by a person day after day, he gets specialized in that work. In the manufacturing industry, it is very common. If a person is just wrapping the product with some paper, he will be doing the same thing. If a person is capping the bottle, so from morning till evening, his job is only to cap the bottle. So he gets specialized in that work. So specialization leads to skill development, but in agriculture, it is difficult. Tractor drivers, yes, they get specialized in tractor driving, but a worker who participates in sowing, weeding, harvesting, he cannot specialize because it is season bound. If he specializes in that, he'll be getting work only for a few days in a year. So this specialization and skill improvement is difficult in case of agriculture labor, common laborers. Then the third classification could be productive labor and unproductive labor. This was given by the classical economists, and the neoclassical and the modern economists, they don't accept this. They don't agree with this classification of labor as productive labor and unproductive labor. So productive labor, it means labor which results in the production of material goods. If you produce rice, if you produce bread, if you produce fertilizer, if you produce a car, then only it is said to be productive labor. Services of farmers, weavers, they're all productive labor. But according to classical economists, unproductive labor, where material goods are not produced. According to classical economists, what I am doing now, the lecture I am giving is unproductive labor according to them because it doesn't produce any material goods. So labor which does not result in the production of material goods was classified as unproductive labor. For example, services of teachers, services of musicians, singers, lawyers, doctors, they were all classified as unproductive labor by classical economists, and today it is not accepted. But this distinction is wrong and is not acceptable to modern economists. Then the next factor of production after land and labor, it is capital. In the ordinary language, capital means money. It means money, but in economics, capital is anything which is produced by man and which is used for further production. First thing is the capital has to be produced, and then capital will be used in further production. So there are different definitions of capital, different ways of defining capital. Another definition could be capital is produced means of production. Same thing in different words. Okay, it is produced means of production. So first it needs to be produced, then it can be used in production. Capital can also be defined as man-made instrument of production. So it is man-made. Land is a natural factor of production. It is a factor of production, and anything which is gifted by the nature is classified as land. But capital, it is man-made. So it is man-made instrument of production. Capital can also be defined as physical goods which are produced for use in future production. So these are different ways of defining capital. Examples of capital: machines, equipment, dams, canals, stock of raw materials, they are all capital goods. Even your factory buildings, they're all capital. Or your farm buildings, they're all capital. Then what are the characteristics of capital? Capital is man-made. The definition itself says it is man-made. Hence, it is possible to increase its supply when the situation requires. If the demand for capital increases, immediately you can increase the production of capital. Production of tractors, production of fertilizers, production of seeds. You can increase as the demand increase, and you can reduce the production level if the demand decreases. Then capital involves element of time, because capital is not exhausted when you use it only one time. Seeds, you sow the seeds, it is gone forever. You apply the fertilizer, it is gone forever. But tractors, other machines, equipments, you can use it for a number of times. You can use it for a number of years. So element of time is involved. Capital renders its service over a period of time. That is why payment for capital is calculated in terms of interest. So the concept of interest has been introduced to address the issue of capital. Okay. Now, there is a concept called time value of money. You will learn in detail when you study either the finance course, agriculture finance course, or the farm management course. I'll briefly tell you the meaning of time value of money. The value of money changes with time. I repeat, value of money changes with time. The reason for this time value of money or change in the value of money or time is uncertainty. Suppose I see the name here, Divakara BP. Suppose after 10 years, Divakara BP becomes a big entrepreneur, okay? Very rich entrepreneur. His business runs into crores of rupees. And I approach Divakara and I say, Divakara, you may remember me, I taught you AEC 111 course, Fundamentals of Economics and Agricultural Economics course. Okay. So can you help me? And Divakara says, yes, tell me, what do you want? And I plead, Divakara, I need 10 lakh rupees immediately. Please lend me 10 lakh rupees. I will return the amount after 6 years. I'll pay you 10 lakh rupees. I will return 10 lakh rupees after 6 years. Would Divakara agree to this? Definitely not. Now, the reasons for his refusal to give me 10 lakh rupees today and receive back 10 lakh rupees after 6 years. The reasons would be uncertainty. What is the guarantee that Srikantha will return 10 lakh rupees after 6 years? He is already old. What is the guarantee that he will live for another 6 years? Okay, so there is uncertainty. Then alternative uses. Instead of giving 10 lakh rupees to Srikantha today and getting back 10 lakh rupees after 6 years, I can keep that money in a bank, or I can invest that 10 lakh rupees in poultry business, or maybe dairy business, or some petty shop. Even I can open one shop with 10 lakh rupees. Alternative uses. And inflation. Today, with 10 lakh rupees, you can buy a car, a decent car, okay, 10 lakh rupees. But after 6 years, you may not be able to buy even a motorbike with 10 lakh rupees, because the prices of all the goods and services will rise. So today's 10 lakh rupees will not be equal to 10 lakh rupees after 6 years in real value terms. So because of uncertainty, alternative uses, and inflation, the value of money changes with time. And to overcome this problem of uncertainty, alternative uses, and inflation, the concept of interest has been developed. Now, if I ask Divakara, please give me 10 lakh rupees today, after 6 years, I'll pay, give back, I'll return 10 lakh rupees along with 15% interest. Definitely, he will be ready to lend me 10 lakh rupees. Why? Because if he deposits that 10 lakh rupees in the bank, at the most, he will get 7% interest. Today, on the fixed deposits, the banks will give you a maximum of 7% interest. But if he lends me, if he gives 10 lakh rupees, I'll pay him 15% interest. So he'll be happy. Okay. So the concept of interest has been developed to address the problem of time value of money. So capital involves element of time. It is used over a period of time. So the capital is the payment for capital or returns on capital or the cost of capital is calculated in terms of interest. Then the third characteristic of capital is its application increases efficiency and productivity of other factors. So if you use capital, the other factors will also be more efficient. For example, drip irrigation. If you use drip irrigation, then water productivity will increase, but at the same time, since you apply water to the root zone, okay, the weed development or weed growth will be reduced. Crop output will be increased. So seed productivity will be more. Similarly, coconut tree climber, so labor productivity will increase. So they all have the influence on increasing the efficiency of capital. Then types of capital, fixed and working capital. Fixed capital, the one which we discussed earlier, the element of time, fixed capital. Okay. So the durable use producer goods, that means the goods which you can use for a number of years, which you can use again and again. So they are all classified as fixed capital. Example, machinery, tractors, buildings, and so on. They're all fixed capital. Then working capital, the single-use producer goods like raw materials and fuel. You can use it for only once. Seeds, fertilizers, chemicals, you can use them only once. Once you use them, they get exhausted. Okay. They're also known as circulating capital. Working capital is also referred to as circulating capital. If money is spent upon the durable use goods, it becomes fixed for a long period. That's why it is called as fixed capital. If money is spent upon the single use goods, it can be fully recovered when goods made with them are sold in the market. So immediately within a season or within a year, you'll get back the entire amount that you have spent. That is single use goods or the working capital. That means If you use fertilizers, if you use seeds, if you use chemicals, when you use the irrigation water, the output will be received within a season or within a year. You can sell that produce in the market and you will recover the entire amount that has been spent. That is working capital. Then another classification of capital is physical capital and financial capital. The name itself suggests the meaning. Land, buildings, machinery, they are all physical capital, and cash is financial capital. Even your shares, debentures, okay, they're all financial capital. Then the third classification is production capital and consumption capital. Capital which is used for further production or referred to as production capital, like machinery and buildings. But those which are used for consumption, like food, clothing, shelter, they're all classified as consumption capital, but strictly speaking, they're not capital, because when we say capital, it involves the element of time. Okay, so usually food, clothing, and other thing is they are not used for further production. Clothing, shelter, they are not used for further production. So strictly speaking, they are not capital. They are not capital in true sense, but generally they are classified as consumption capital. Then what are the functions of capital? One is supply of raw materials. The second function of capital is supply of machinery. Because with capital, you can purchase raw materials. Okay, machinery itself is used for further production. Provision of subsistence. When we say provision of subsistence, capital refers to the financial capital, cash. Okay, provision of subsistence, that is for the laborers during the gestation period. Okay, you do the planting today. Seedlings are planted today, but you will get the output, the yield after 5 years. Maybe it is mango or coconut or areca nut. It takes 4 years to 6 or 7 years to start yielding. So from the time you plant them and the time they start yielding, there is a gap, the gestation period. During that period, the laborers, they have to live. Okay, so your capital, especially in terms of cash, it helps. Provision of means of transport. Capital, if you have tractor, it serves for the transport purpose also. Provision of employment. Capital provides employment. When you use the machines, they need the laborers. So, and to manufacture capital also, laborers are needed. Provision of employment. Then capital formation. Another terminology that we come across is capital formation. The meaning of capital formation is increasing the stock of real capital in a country. Increasing the stock of real capital is if the number of tractors produced in the country, if the number of tractors owned in the country increases, we say there is capital formation. If the number of threshers, sprinklers, or sprayers, pump sets, they increase, then we say there is capital formation. They are real capital. They are not money capital. They are real capital. There are 3 stages in capital formation. One is creation of savings. First is people should save money. The second stage is mobilization of savings, creation of savings. Then somebody has to mobilize savings, and then the mobilized savings should be invested. So creation of savings, mobilization of savings, and investment of savings. These are the three stages in capital formation. Earlier, a few decades ago, the leading industrialists, leading manufacturers in India were Tatas, Birlas, Kirloskars, and so on. Only handful, only a few industrialists. And their investment was all personal. That means their own investment, or maybe from the nearest ones or dearest ones. They are relatives or friends, but not the general public. And Dhirubhai Ambani, Reliance Company, Mukesh Ambani, his father, Mukesh Ambani and Anil Ambani, their father, Dhirubhai Ambani, is credited with mobilizing for the first time in India, mobilizing savings and investing savings in the companies. So he was the first person to sell the shares to public and mobilize capital and invest it and develop the Reliance company. Uh, Abhishek Bachchan and Aishwarya Rai movie Guru, directed by Mani Ratnam, it tells this story. Okay. Then the fourth factor of production is organization or the entrepreneurship. In general, when we say organization, it means planning of a business, starting the business, and running the business. Organization means planning of a business, starting it, and running it. Extended meaning, elaborate meaning of organization is organization is the work bringing together the factors of production. So the organizer or the entrepreneur, he has to bring together land, labor, capital, and management. So bringing together the factors of production like land, labor, and capital, combining them in a proper proportion. How much land is required, and depending upon the land, extent of land holding, how much labor is required, and for the land and labor, how much capital should be invested, and those things. Okay, land, labor, and capital, combining them in a proper proportion, making them work properly, controlling them properly so as to get maximum profit from production. So everything put together is organization. Okay. Organization, you can also call it as enterprise as a noun, as a noun. Okay. So it is enterprise. You can also call it as entrepreneurship. Organization is the work bringing together the factors of production. Enough. You should be having the capacity to bear the risk. The venture, the enterprise may give you profit or you may incur loss also. Even in the eventuality of incurring loss, you must be able to bear that burden. So risk bearing is very important if you want to call yourself as an entrepreneur. So what are the functions of an entrepreneur? Initiation, starting. Okay. So entrepreneur conceives the idea of a business plan. The literal meaning of conceiving is garbhadharani. Okay. Entrepreneur, he should conceive the idea of a business plan, either alone or with the help of friends or partners. He puts the plan into execution. So initiation includes conceiving the idea and executing and formulating the plan and executing the plan. he gives the business a start. He should start the business. Then second function of entrepreneur is coordinating or organizing. You are using different factors of production. It is your responsibility to coordinate them, organize them. He has to coordinate different factors of production. Entrepreneur has to combine them in such a way that the cost of production is minimum, output is optimum, and profit is maximum. Okay, the way to combine all the factors of production is to see that you get maximum profit with optimum output and minimum cost. Then third function of an entrepreneur is directing and supervising. Okay, to directing and supervising is to avoid wastage of resources and ensure economy in working. Okay, the resources are used with the minimum cost and there is no wastage of resources. Then the fourth function of an entrepreneur is controlling. Maybe you have managers to assist you, help you, but the ultimate control must be in your hand as an entrepreneur. So though the entrepreneur has assistants to help, he should keep the final control of business. He is responsible. Entrepreneur is responsible for the birth of the business, and he should not leave its destiny in the hands of others. So the fate of your business, the fate of all the efforts you have put in should be in your hands, not in somebody else's hand. So you should control the organization, you should control the business. Then fifth one is marketing. When we talk about marketing, we have to think about the middleman. Okay, so entrepreneur has to arrange for efficient marketing of products. Then the factors he has to consider is the middleman. Whether you want to push your product to the consumers through wholesalers, retailers, distributors, hawkers, through whom, that you have to manage, you have to decide. Then advertisement. Suppose you want to push your product in the market within a short period, you have to go for strong advertisement. Then transport. Just production is not sufficient. You have to see that the product reaches the consumer in the shortest time period. So for quick and timely movement, transportation is also important. So they are all the factors that come under marketing. Then risk bearing. So entrepreneur may take handsome profits or incur heavy loss. He must take responsibility for all the consequences. ಲಾಭ ಬಂದಾಗ ಓ ನನ್ನಿಂದಾಗಿ ನಷ್ಟ ಆಯಿತು ಇನ್ನೊಬ್ರು ತಲೆ ಮೇಲೆ ಕೈ ಇಡು, no. So as an entrepreneur, whether you earn profit or incur loss, you should take the full responsibility. Then seventh function of an entrepreneur is innovations. Okay, one should be always receptive to innovations, that is coming out with new products or new methodology, okay, new raw materials and so on. Entrepreneurs should be receptive to innovations, new techniques of production, introduction of new products, finding out new raw materials, or finding out new uses for the old raw materials, renovation of the organization. Okay, they're all part of innovations. As a result, suppose you are very receptive to innovations, you readily accept them, the result would be the cost of production would decrease, production level improves, quality of the produce will be of higher level, and the market for your product expands. That an organizer, how do you define an organizer? You went through all the functions of an organizer. If you put them or if you join them sequentially, it becomes the definition of organizer. An organizer is a person who initiates the first function, who coordinates or organizes second function, who directs and supervises, controls, markets, bears the risk, and introduces innovations in a business. A person who does all these things is referred to as an organizer. And what is production? Process of transforming the factors of production into output is production. It is a process of transforming the resources, the factors of production, and resource services, okay, into products. Labor is service. Management is service. Land is a resource. Capital is resource. Okay, a process of transforming resources and resource services into products is production. Or production can also be defined as creation of utility. Destruction of utility, if you remember, was referred to as consumption. Consumption is destruction of utility, and creation of utility is production. So production involves creation of utilities. There are four types here, four types of utilities. One is place utility through transportation. The wood of log, log of wood. Log of wood is in the forest. If it is lying in the forest, it will now not have much utility. But if the same log of wood is transported to the city, you can convert that into furniture. You can produce furniture, manufacture furniture out of the wood. So place utility through transportation. Form utility. Form utility is through processing. That is value addition. Paddy as such cannot be consumed. Paddy has to be processed into rice. The outer cover, husk, has to be removed. It is form utility. Okay, through processing, you are creating form utility. Wood as such doesn't have utility. If you manufacture furniture out of wood, it gets utility, form utility. Then time utility. You produce it now and you need it for consumption in the summer season. So you store it. Storage creates time utility. You might have seen near the Majestic bus stand in Bengaluru, many Tibetan women, they will be stitching sweaters, okay, while sitting in the market and selling the sweaters, they'll be doing the work. It may not be sold immediately, okay? It will be stored and they will sell it after 6 months or 7 months. So it creates time utility. Through storage, time utility is created. And the other one is, the final one is the position utility. Farmer produces 10 quintals of, say, wheat, but his family doesn't need all the 10 quintals. He needs only 3 quintals for household consumption for 1 year. Whatever that is remaining, 7 quintals, it doesn't have any utility if it is with him. When he sells it to consumer, okay, then it gets the utility, because consumers consume wheat, there'll be utility. Okay, so exchange, buying and selling, farmer selling wheat to the consumer creates the exchange or possession utility. Selling and buying is exchange. So through exchange, possession utility is created. So this is in brief about the factors of production. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Still, there are 9 minutes. Otherwise, I'll go to the next chapter. It is skilled labor. Who said it is not skilled labor? Doctor, lawyer, engineers, skilled labor. Okay. Uh, I'll take up the next one, that is market structure. Okay. The next chapter is market structure. First, we'll take up a few concepts used. What is market? Market can be either a place or a context. You go to city market, Chandan see, Chandan, please, microphone close. Yes? You're not audible. If you have any question, you can. Okay. It can be either a place. You go to city market. You go to farmers market in Yalahanka. It's a place where you go and purchase. It can be place or it can be a context. Now, many times you purchase goods, especially books, through Amazon. Okay, the Amazon serves you by supplying the books you need. Okay, so it is a context. So when we say market, it can either be a place or a context. So market is a place or a context wherein goods and services are bought and sold. Market structure, the characteristics of market which affect the prices, which affect the competition in the market, are referred to as market structure. Those characteristics of the organization of market which influence those characteristics of the organization of market which influence the nature of competition, competition between the buyers, competition between the sellers. So nature of competition and pricing within the market is referred to as market structure. We'll look into those characteristics which make up the market structure, form the market structure. One is the number and size of firms. How many firms, how many buyers are there in the market, how many sellers are there in the market. That is one number. And the size, how big is the buyer, not physically, but in terms of volume of transaction. In terms of volume of transaction, okay, how many or what is the size of the buyer, what is the size of the seller. Then second characteristic is the nature of product as viewed by the buyers, the product in the eyes of the consumer, whether he says it is of good quality, it is homogeneous, it is heterogeneous product. So from the point of view of buyer, how the product appears, it affects, or it is a characteristic of market which affects competition and pricing. And the third characteristic is entry and exit conditions, whether a seller can easily enter the market and easily go out of the market, whether a buyer can easily enter the market or exit the market. Then the fourth characteristic is the status of knowledge about costs, prices, and market conditions. Okay, that is, a product is there in the market, whether the buyers as well as the sellers, they have sufficient knowledge about what is the cost of production of the product, what is the price, what could be the price of product, and what is the quantity of produce that is brought to the market for selling. If everyone, all the players in the market, the buyers and the sellers, if they have sufficient knowledge about this, then market competition will be of one type, the price will be of one type. If the sellers and buyers, they do not have sufficient knowledge about all these things, then the competition will be of different kind and the price will be of different level. We'll look into each one of them, okay, each one of the characteristics, and say how it will affect the competition and the pricing of the products in the market. First one, the number and size of firms. A large number of small firms create market perfection. If the number of sellers is large and each seller is small in the total volume that he sells, okay, the number is large but the size is small, then there'll be market perfection, or it will be a perfect market. Perfect market means the price will be very good, both for the buyer and the seller. Okay. Whereas a high degree of market concentration, that means the number of sellers and number of buyers are small in the market. The number of sellers and number of buyers is small in the market, then there will be market imperfection. It will be an imperfect market. What is imperfect market? We'll look into later on. Nature of the product. When we say nature of the product, if the product is homogeneous, whether it is produced by Akshay Kumar, whether it is produced by Bhuvaneshwar, or whether it is produced by Arjun Reddy, okay, the product is the same. You cannot distinguish. Then it is homogeneous. Rice produced by any of these farmers, it is the same. But if it is toothpaste, Colgate toothpaste is different from your what you say, Binaka. It is different from Close Up. It is different from Signal toothpaste, and so on. So, admit next class. So, if the product is heterogeneous, imperfect market, if the product is homogeneous, then price variation will not be there. Price almost remains the same. ಇದ್ಯಾಕೆ ರುದ್ರೇಶ್ ಇಷ್ಟೊಂದು ಅಡ್ಮಿಟ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ? ರುದ್ರೇಶ್ 5-6 ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದೆ. So if the products are heterogeneous, you can distinguish one from the other. There'll be tendency to charge different prices, claiming superiority of those products over the others. So if you purchase Colgate, it will be having one price. If it is Binaka, it will be different price. If it is Close Up, the price will be different. Each brand, each company will say our product is superior, and so our price, our product will command a higher price. So it will be market imperfection. I stop here, and if you have any questions, you can ask me. If you have any questions, you can ask me. Rudresh is still joining. Okay. If you don't have any questions, okay. Thank you and bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye. I'll end the meeting here.
Recording stop.